Good evening, one and all, to MRC X-treme, our no assist tier, and also final race for this week, and also the final round of the season. I am your lead commentator, BITW365, and my co-commentator alongside me for this one is our captain of the comms team. It is our Tier 2 champion, Mark Hodgson.
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for having us. Looking forward to this one. Should be good. A bit cloudy, isn't it, around here for the X-treme guys? Which is the first one we've had this week, so this could be interesting. See if there's any changeable conditions. But no, thank you for the intro, mate. I hope you're well. How's things?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Bit of a quiet one, as I was talking before we went live. A quiet race for myself in Tier 2, and I think you said a bit of a quiet one for yourself as well.
Yeah, it didn't start that way, I'm not going to lie. It started off very busy and a really good fun. A few battles at the top end just went badly, and yeah, spent most of the race, about the last 15 laps or so, sort of just on my own at the back of the field, and then decided to upset Bergen, I think, at the end, and went for a fastest lap attempt, so he wasn't the best amused, I don't think, by that. But yeah, difficult one, but it's, you know, like I said, with the three tiers, top three tiers have finished now for the season. Next week for MRC X-treme, so yeah, don't forget, folks, don't forget about that one. We're not quite done just yet in this tier. I mean, I think most of the tier is and the championship is sort of wrapped up, but yeah, still a bit of on-track action in the off-season before we get going. Not the second week, I think it is, of October for season 15, and it's crazy, isn't it? How we're, you know, starting 15 seasons, and it's the community that we've got here in MRC is just absolutely incredible, isn't it? And it shows testament to how far we've gone with the league.
Yeah, and just following Palang as he starts his flying lap as we're going through Abbey and then Farm, car staying out the way as we enter Village, then we over into the Loop, which follows on to Aintree, and then we go on to the Wellington Straight on the run down to Brooklands and Luffield. And then out of Luffield into Woodcote, which used to be the final corner on the old layout. And then obviously the famous Cops Corner. Car stays out the way, and now it's the famous Maggots and Beckett's combination, which then heads into Chapel, which then leads on to the Hangers Straight. Flat out on the way down to Stowe Corner, and then we'll into Vale, and then to finish off the lap through the club complex onto the Lewis Hamilton Straight to finish the lap, and does a 27.229 to take provisional pole at the moment.
Really good opening lap, that one, really strong. I've just been on board with Chris as he's coming across the line on the inters. Car moving around quite a bit, which you'd sort of expect from him, so just gets his eye in. So, you know, Mahmood as well is on the inters. We've got Bobo and Ant on the inters. Of course, Ant's on the inters. It's what he does. But, you know, it's an interesting one to think. I wonder if it's going to be a dry race. If someone's using a set of those intermediates, it's going to be an interesting one. I think it might be dry. I have a feeling.
Well, I think all the races up to now we've had this week have been dry. We've had no wet running for any of the tiers, because Tier 3 we just had was dry, Tier 2 was dry, and I think Tier 1 was dry as well, so we've had no wet running at all, which is odd for Silverstone, if I must admit.
Yeah, exactly that. It is, isn't it? You normally get at least one. Oh, Vixen spins, loses the rear end. early in his lap, so that's his lap abandoned. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you usually do see at least one race per week, especially around here in wet conditions. Ryan's put it into second with a good lap ahead of Loppy and Soze. But yeah, you normally see something. It's very changeable conditions around here, the typical British summertime and all that. But yeah, it's quite an interesting one that we've not had that. And I mean, I think a lot of people, I myself, have that. I mean, I know you're very good in, especially in the intermediate conditions, is sort of where you're really good at, and then I'm just not. But it's one of those that you always have it in your back of your mind. Part of your setup, part of maybe your suspension setup, for example, not necessarily the wings, because it is reasonably high wings, medium to high downforce track. But you sometimes do have a slight eye on that, especially the changeable conditions that you could potentially get during a race. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, see what we're going to get this race. I think, unfortunately, no one's in the YouTube chat yet, so come on, people, hit the like button. Please do join us. We'd love to have a bit of conversation with you, especially if we know the weather forecast. That'll be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant if we had a heads up on what the condition would be for the race.
Yeah, but it's a bit overcast, so... But everyone out in the softs, everyone's out quite early as well, so it does make me wonder if the weather is going to change in this session. We're already 7 minutes in, but it does make me wonder if it's going to come down, because it can, when it's overcast like this, it can potentially change. Oh, Doran says it's all dry, so good evening, Doran. Nice to see you back with us and racing. I know you're in the pits at the moment. Good lap from him, actually, really good at 28.6. So currently sat in fifth, a couple of tenths ahead of Smith and Bergen. So yeah, that's a good opener from him. I think there's going to be the track again. This is one of those tracks that you've seen the laps do almost seem to go on forever. But I mean, it's a 1 minute 30, 1 minute 31 in terms of race time pace, unless you save your Chris Bailey and Ujoni and some of the top tier 1 boys. But it's never ending, really. Yes, you've got the long hanger straight. Yes, you've got a few of the start finish straight, for example. But it doesn't quite end for you. It's a busy lap. It's a fast lap as well, because Saviour!
Yeah,
wow.
Whilst you were talking, we're following the lap on the stream, and yeah, he loses the back end through Stowe Corner.
He did well to not hit a wall with that one and lose it completely. But yeah, this is one that, because it's so fast, it can really hurt the tyres, especially the left-hand side. They're the ones that take the biggest beating, the faster corners, the longer corners. You mentioned, your Luffields, your Copse Corner, Stowe, fast and long left-hand corners that really, really do hurt the tyre, and it could by, a good couple of percent, really.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a mixture of corners around Silverstone, the low-speed corners, high-speed corners, and medium-speed. We've got variety.
But yeah, which makes it one of the best tracks, really, doesn't it? You tend to set up a car for one or the other, and you can find you may compromise a little bit. Jules pops it into seconds, which shows just how good a lap that was from Palang early on. Evening, Mr. Simba. Evening, Mandy. But yeah, it's one of those that, because you want to set up your car, whether it's for traction or outright traction out of the slow speed corners, or that grip and the balance through the high speed corners where you're trying to get on the throttle that little bit earlier and keep that average speed going. So it's a real trade-off around here, and it's quite almost, for a lot of people, Armour, great lap as well. Fantastic lap from Armour into second. But it's one where you really got to balance it out a lot, and it's quite difficult, I find. I mean, I struggled until I struggled in X. Made a few changes over the weekend and was a lot quicker. Maybe my qualifying didn't show it, and unfortunately then in the end of the race didn't show it, but a lot more comfortable than I was on the Friday, and a lot of changes had to be made to find that sweet spot where I was a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I particularly I don't know if it was set up or anything, but I've always struggled with, let's say, the middle sector at Silverstone with the Maggots and Beckett's combination, because of you don't realise how quick that section of track is and how tight it is neither. So obviously it's that one bit of the track where a bit of higher aero would help, but at the end of the day as well, you've got like long-ish straights where obviously a bit of lower drag wouldn't mind. So it's finding that balance, as you say, with this particular track.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, funny enough, I was struggling with that middle sector. Looking at the times throughout qualifying, I was consistently, not a lot, but a couple of tenths off what other people were doing. And it's that Brooklands and Luffield, which I normally was quite strong at. I thought I was strong. And then again, the Beckett complex and Chapel, I was really, really attacking and just wasn't finding any time on deltas.
26.7 for Micro to take provisional pole off of Palang.
Wow, that's quick. That's very quick. I'm interested to see what Saviour, Chris Bailey, Bergen, a few of the other guys can do with Jules and Armour in response to that. 6 minutes left. You do have enough time for 3 runs here, which I think is why everyone went out quite early. But it's going to be, it does take its time. You are going to take maybe 5-6 minutes to do an out lap, fast lap, in lap, as Ant puts it, into 4th. He may have time for a quick dash. Again, if he wants to go again for another lap. Ooh, unlucky. Scottish Ninja just got on the power. He's finished his lap.
Yeah,
the times are pretty tight, really. You look at through some of the field, you've got 2 tenths really separating 2nd to 6th. Bit of a gap to Friddy, but that's only a tenth between him and Loppy in 9th, then a little bit of a gap, but then again there's a lot of little bunches, and you find that around T. I don't know if you notice it in a Tier 2 race. I know, like we've just said, we both had quite lonely races, but there were a few just groups and gaggles of cars once you're in a DRS train, and you can use it to help and pull each other along. But once you're in that group, it's really, really difficult to sort of get out of it.
Yeah, and if you fall back out of a group from a DRS train, it's hard to get back into it as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it really, really is. That is very, very true. Yeah, once you find you've lost that. I mean, there's there's good 2 DRS zones around here, but long straights that they're on, apart from the Wellington straight's not that long, but it just helps that average speed into the Brooklands and Luffield section, and it really, really does hamper you, doesn't it? And you could just lose so much time. And I think that's sort of when you get into that dirty air point as well.
Yeah, dirty air is a horrible thing on this game. You just don't seem to have the control over the car if you're too close to a car in front. You need at least some bit of a gap from the car in front to be able to make sure you can hit your apexes and just keep it in track limits, because the dirty air can affect the car in so many ways, and when you're having to follow another car through Maggots and Beckett's, for example, you can just feel the car just sliding as it's fighting the lack of grip due to the effect of the car in front.
Yeah, I think that really hits in when you're about 8-9 tenths just over a second behind, and that's, like you say, once you get to that point, it's like you say, it's very, very difficult to get back into that DRS train about that second back. The car doesn't want to grip. I think if you're a little bit closer, you're sort of underneath that turbulent air and it's not that bad. But when you are right, that little bit further back, it's really, really horrible, and it can even take effect for quite a distance, up to, I would even say 2 seconds behind, or 1.5 seconds at least. I would say that it could really, really hurt.
Has just jumped to Palang as he's on his second flying lap to try and see if he can get anywhere near Micromash's pole of a 26.7, who took pole in Tier 1 if I'm not mistaken. I think he took Tier 1 in Tier 1 pole early in the week, so he's familiar to that front starting position here is Micro, as he's already been there before this week, as Palang's coming through the club section to end his second run, and he improves to a 26.9.
Yeah, not quite, unfortunately. That'll be him done. I don't think Micromash or anyone who's currently in the pits is going to get another lap in. What's Chris done? And he gets second! Oh, by less than a tenth. Oh, what a tenth of a second. I was sort of watching him throughout, and he had a very, very good lap, very confident throughout the high-speed corners especially. Yeah, that's so close to Chris, but that's a very, very good lap. And I'm just looking if anyone's sort of...
There's a massive gaggle of cars just come out of the pits as well, coming through the turns 3, 4 and 5.
Yeah, Palang's had a moment, and he's damaged his wing, but he is done for the qualifying session. But yeah, there's, I think, everyone on an outlap now, really, I'm just trying to flick through the field, Ant is the last man out on track. So I know he's got a minute and a half to get round, but he doesn't want to sort of waste too much time, because that clock will soon go down, especially when he gets to the final sector.
Yeah, you don't. It's all right being the last car out, but you don't really want to dawdle too much.
That's it. I mean, he's got a decent gap too. It is, I think. Who was it that's on an outlap? Oh, hang on. Did I miss it? It is. It's Micromash that's ahead of him. So the current pole sitter is back out on track. Does he feel threatened?
Possibly. I mean, he's probably just seen that lap from Chris and thought, that's a bit close for my comfort. I need to make sure that I've got this position on the grid dialed in. No one can get near me, as we are now on everyone who's crossing the line now on their last flying laps will follow Red Car Rambo in the Mercedes.
I'm going to watch the other racing bull at this moment in time of Xavier. He's had a very, very good...
Oh, Aerovoice disqualified.
Yeah, I think he'd parked it through turn 3 and out of the way, just to keep out of the way, and it's just disqualified him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he's starting at the back now. He was in 14th. That's now dropped him to the back of the grid. But check your flag. This is it now for people. How's Xavier's... I'm just, like I said, keep my eye on Xavier's middle sector. It was up. Oh, this could be good.
Right, we'll jump to Xavier then.
He's 4.5 tenths up in the middle sector. Takes the wider line through stop. What can he do in this final couple of corners? Looks nice
tight,
eh? Does, doesn't it? Can he do it?
P4.
Oh, not quite. Didn't it? Getting in the last sector. And up on his time, a quarter of a second, I think it was, in the first sector. So this could potentially challenge that second row.
Armour stays P5. Finished. Two tenths up for Micromash coming into the final part of the lap. 26.3.
Wow. That throws the gauntlet down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To everybody else, and gets a little wiggle mid-corner. Shouldn't really cost him time. He goes third.
Look, it's amazing how tight third, fourth and fifth is, and Palang and Xavier. 26.9s.
I mean, we've got a tenth and a half there between second. Well, yeah, and fifth. That's very, very close. And then you've got the guys in the 27s. You're talking again half a second between Armour there in sixth, down to Friddy. only just outside of that. Even you could include Soze in that as well in 14th, so that's very, very close indeed. Vixen has bailed on his lap, and that is qualifying.
Yeah, we'll run through the grid once the order comes up, but Micromash, copying what he did on Monday, pole position in Tier 1, goes and does it again in X-treme.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said this throughout the season for Tier 1 that Micromash, now he's come in, he's starting to race a bit more regularly as well, and I think next season he's going to be one of a few. I think Chris is going to be up there, I think, and I think Jules and G-Star as well, and a number of others, and Reese, of course, who can forget Reese. They're going to fight you, Joni, I think, next season. I mean, we saw a lot of last lap battles as well with that, but that's going to be an interesting one in Tier 1 next season.
Yeah, you included will be in that tier as well.
I'll be happy for points, I think, next season.
Yeah. Run through the order then. Micromash on pole. Chris is in second, Ant third, Palang fourth, Saviour fifth, Armar sixth, Jules seventh, Mudev 8th, Redcar Rambo in 9th, Bobo rounds out the top 10, and we'll, just to save on the times because it's going to disappear, I'll go down the bottom half of the order during the formation lap, but now we have that 5-minute break and it's bright sunshine.
Yeah, Doris said it was going to be sunny, so it's going to be interesting to see who's used up a few sets of those soft tyres, because we know that the one-stop strategy is the quickest, and I know in Tier 3 and Neville were saying that, that it's a good 30-second pit lane here, and
it's one of the longest pit lanes on the calendar.
Yeah, and it's
if not the longest.
As well. I think it probably is one of the longest. If not, it feels the longest. Imola's quite long as well. It's a short entry, but the exit just goes on forever.
It's nice that they've moved that the pit entry line, where you have to put the pit limiter on, has been moved back, so it's like later on, so you're not having to have that long, slow drive before you even get near the corner for the pit entry, because it made it feel so much longer.
I didn't even realise. I just knew it was long. And it's even worse if somebody decides they're going to take out the pit board, which I know somebody did that in qualifying for Tier 2. I noticed somebody did take it out because he was in my mirror at the time. So I saw him blatantly do it. But it's very difficult to spot as well. So it's one that's a very, very difficult sort of entry, I think, and with it being only 36 miles an hour, because we don't use kilometres here, we use proper mathematics and proper speeds. It's one that it's really, like you say, it's so slow and it just goes on forever, and it's not necessarily getting to your pit box. Once you've pitted, it just never ends.
Yeah, you just sat there waiting for the go ahead to get to the pit exit and put your foot down. You just reeling the car to get there, just giving that extra little hurry up.
Yeah, and then even the pit exit, I think, isn't easy because it's uphill, it's slow, you can easily lose the rear as well on that. Especially as it's going up the hill and rides the crest, and you're trying to get the speed of the people going through the flat-out turn 1 and 2, and then the heavy braking, of course, so you sort of potentially having to defend. You're trying to get out in a hurry. It's not one of those pit exits that feeds into the inside of the corner, such as Japan, such as Spain, to mention 2 tracks that notably go to the inside of a corner. But
yeah,
it's still tricky. You're still racing. You're still conscious of everybody at full speed, so you're wanting to be there as soon as possible, which then leads to your tyres are cold. You're not sure where the grip is just yet. So it is kind of fraught with danger. But this is going to be an interesting one. The one-stop strategy is going to be the quickest. We know the softs will last a good... I think I heard Anton Neville saying they were taking them a good 12 laps in their race, which is ridiculous length of time. And even for a track that has... Well, it's medium wear. You would say around here, and as mentioned earlier, the left-hand side does wear a lot more than the right-hand side. So you're then conscious of that. You're conscious of where the grip actually is and the balance of grip. But the softs to the mediums will work. It's going to be interesting to see if anyone throws the cat amongst the pigeons, maybe chooses the hard tyre. It is slower, but there's a lot of times the hard isn't actually as bad. And you can do a hard to soft potentially if you're good with the tyres or if you aren't. And you just keep things going. You keep the tyres going around the world. But otherwise, this could really throw something in amongst the pigeons here, and especially if we get a safety car. That's going to be an interesting one.
So I think we had about 3 in Tier 3 not too long ago. We had a virtual in Tier 2, and that's all we had in Tier 2 was the single virtual.
Killed my race. I would have loved a safety car for a change.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded the safety car with the position I was in, just to bunch everyone back up. And
I just wanted to go racing again. I was just on my own, like you were. So I felt like I was doing a practice session or a time trial session. Then it was horrible.
Yeah. So Micromash will lead the grid away on the formation lap on this 3.66 mile circuit. And we'll also run through the bottom half of the grid. So in P11 it is Bergen in the Ferrari, the second Sauber of Lorpe in P12, Friddy 13th, Kaiser Soze 14th, Doris 15th, Vixen 16th, Smith 17th, Scottish Ninja 18th, RS Dam in 19th, and due to a disqualification, Error Voice finds himself at the back of the grid. And
tyres are not badly split. I mean, there's only one driver who's opted for that hard tyre, and that's Kaiser Soze in 14th. So that's an interesting one. But the top 2 on the softs, then Palang, and then the 3 of Red Cow Rambo, Bobo and Bergen on the softs, everyone else on the mediums.
I think...
So that's going to be an interesting one off the line, especially. I can speak
just got the graphic for the pit stops just popped down at the bottom of the screen. So everyone got a little glimpse of the 2 strategies that it gives you. I think most of the people on the medium tyres, well, starting on the medium tyres, as Micromash has not hung about on the formation lap. He's really gone on the formation lap, which means he's going to be sitting there for quite a bit because Error Voice is just coming through Chapel.
Yeah, but once you sit there, though, it sort of locks your tyres in a little bit. I think they're cool to touch, but it does lock the tyres in. But even though there is no wear indicator on your MFD in the formation lap, you still do get the wear.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I still think you might only have 0 to 1% at a push throughout that lap, but at the same time you're still taking quite a bit out of it, and that's the softs are okay, but the mediums, the hard tyres as well, the mediums I struggled to get warm on our formation lap, and it's going to be interesting, but I think we're about ready to go.
Yeah, about to get the lights. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and X-treme at Silverstone is underway as Micromash and Chris get a lovely launch. Both of them on the front row. Micromash will hold position. Chris will feed in behind as Palang up to 3rd, Saviour 4th and 5th as Palang attacking Chris through the loop just behind Micromash, who's opened up a slight gap through there as everyone looks to be getting through the first section of the track nice and cleanly. Bergen 10 seconds.
The corner cutting and getting 1 place. That's a strange one. I don't think I've ever seen that one before.
No, I think that'll be
interesting.
That'll be in after.
What was interesting there with the start out of the village, it was almost like the top three accelerated and everybody else stopped. Very, very strange. I don't know if it was just my screen or what it looked like, but that gap suddenly opened up from Saviour, from Palang to Saviour, massively. Just outside that one corner, Palang, you're right, got a fantastic
Answer's dropped it just out of Beckett's.
Wow.
Back end came out, he kept it out the barrier, so I don't think there's any damage to the McLaren, but he finds himself right at the back of the pack now, which is not what he would have wanted at this part in the race. I mean, yes, it's only lap 1, but you don't want to be finding yourself that far down so early in the race, as Marco Mash obviously sets the fastest lap first time round.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the gaps now as well, of course, those mix of tyres, the top three there on the softs, but yeah, Palang got the great launch, got past Saviour by turn 1 already. Oh, Rotterdam's had a moment as well, unfortunately, so Ant's passed
Palang
him.
got it. Palang got a bit close to the rear of Chris, sorry Mark, as Chris is really racing.
Yeah, he kicked the inside curb and was looking at the inside of Chris and kicked that sausage curb and really threw his car and had to back out early on. But you're right there, and now of course those guys back, and that's allowed Saviour back into that DRS, which is all important and open this lap as well.
Yeah, Chris hounding the back of the Sauber of Micromash at the moment. He's not letting Micromash go whatsoever. 10th and a half between them as they come through Copse Corner into Maggots and Beckett's. Really close to the back of the Sauber is the V-carb coming through this section of track. Obviously we only have to wait 1 lap for DRS, so he's already DRS flap open and has gone straight past the Sauber even before Stowe Corner. So Chris takes the lead here, goes over wide a little bit, hopefully.
Oh, Scottish Ninja was having a great start. I was watching, he was the biggest winner on the opening lap, was up 4 places, and he did the same thing, dropped it through Beckett's.
As Chris sets a 29.2. But the front 4 of Chris, Micromash, Palang and Saviour have got a 3-second gap to Jules in P5.
Yeah,
these 4 are not hanging about.
On armour as well, yeah, but he's just got through on armour. And of course, don't forget, we've got the tyre difference as well. So Saviour on the mediums, he's going to be sitting pretty, I think, at this moment in time. He's going to be happy. Even just sitting there, he doesn't necessarily have to make any moves. But, well, I mean, it's going to be interesting what Jules can do about that gap. He's ahead of this now long army train all the way down to Ant in 18th, who has caught the back of the pack now as well. So this is going to be a long train, and it's going to be interesting to see the inherent pace that Jules has got and what the following pack can do. As we mentioned about the dirty air, and I think roughly looking at Armour Red, I've got a gorgeous helicopter shot. That gap about half a second, or it was, before the slipstream that he got, which is very powerful along that straight. It's very powerful, that slipstream. Really makes a big difference. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do about that. And the car's looking very twitchy on heavy fuel at the moment.
Yeah, just following the big train behind Jules. You're saying the offsetting tyres at this moment in time, because from the helicopter shot you had a great view of Red Car in the Mercedes slowly reeling the car behind on the medium tyres because of the better grip of this stage in the race through Maggots and Beckett's, and he's right up the rear of Armar in the Alpine coming into Abbey.
But then just as he started going into those faster corners, he dropped off a little bit because of that turbulent air. He just couldn't hold the speed, and the car slid a little bit. It looked stable, but it did slide just that touch. So hopefully we get a lot more helicopter shots, because it's going to be very interesting to see. And Ryan,
well, I think that's a move slightly behind. Yeah, Bergen going for a move on Lorpe, Ferrari on Sauber, both Ferrari powered cars. Yeah, Bergen being forced round the outside.
Ryan got a great exit, had to actually avoid the back of Armour, such was the exit that he got. Great, fantastic move from Ryan. And he's now up into 6th. What a fantastic move, of course, on those soft tyres. That grip he got out of, I think that's Buckland, isn't it, the second one? But that was just incredible. Great move.
Yeah, just to bring up on Armar's side of things, all he has to do is score points, and he's pretty much sealed X-treme because we have no Eugenius. I think that was a bit of contact between Jules and Redcar, which has caused the Mercedes to drop loads of places.
Yeah,
just the smallest of nicks between the two cars. I don't think it was deliberate. I think Jules probably a little bit unsighted by the Mercedes because of the difference in grip between the soft and the mediums at this stage.
It was the DRS down there, and I just wonder if we'll see that in the steward's room because, I didn't quite see it. I was on the Alpines just a little bit out of shot, so I didn't quite see it, so I'm not exactly sure what happened. But all this battling is just really allowing the top four to completely escape down the road, 5 laps in, and 5 seconds that gap.
Yeah, Chris finds himself back at the front as just jumping to those gaggle of 4 cars at the front. Xavier doing what he needs to do, just sticking with these 3 in front of him on the slower tyre. Hopefully when the pit stop phase comes he'll be on the more quicker, grippier tyre for the last stint, and with being so close to these 3 at this stage in the race, it'll probably put him in a good position for probably the race win.
Yeah, potentially can, but of course, we've still got another 20 odd laps to go, and if we get that, is it the Mercedes or the Aston Martin that comes out? I'm not going to mention what the title of it, but if that comes out, then
it's for Silverstone. It's an Aston Martin that comes out.
I did wonder, British and all that. So yeah, I just wondered if that could potentially play a part. It's interesting that both Alpines now have got through past Jules. Different strategies as well for them both.
But as we know with X-treme, there's we're in teams, but there's no teams or constructors championships. It's all on the drivers.
Yeah, certainly is.
So there's no team orders or papaya rules or anything like that in X-treme.
No multi-21, any of that rubbish, no. And but I think we've actually got 1 or 2 seats open up as well for next season. So if you are watching this and you fancy racing no assist, this is a full-time seat. If you fancy being part and playing F1 with some of these guys, some of the fastest guys we have in MRC, please do drop us a like. Please do click the link and join our Discord. We will have a couple of weeks break, apart from these guys next week. But if you join, we'll get you in a seat, absolutely. And come racing with us, absolutely. We welcome everybody. And if you like the no assists, definitely come and join us. There's a few drivers in here I know who aren't. Oh, that was tight. That was safe. You had a look at Palang, and I think Palang's dropped it on exit. He's out. Safety car.
Yep.
That was interesting because there was a bit of slight side contact which happened early on in the corner, and then on exit Palang lost it. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I currently had the big gaggle which was behind those 4, the big train behind led by the 2 Alpines. You're saying about joining X-treme because there's seats available. I mean, even if you want to just give it a go, just 1 race, put your hand in to reserve a seat. Even if you want to just give 1 race a try.
Yeah, if you've never done no assist before, but if you're running majority no assists, then yeah, just give it a go. To be fair, I was thinking about this earlier. I do run ABS. I have not dropped it, and I actually have no intention of dropping it, to be perfectly honest. But I just fancy I may, if I'm free next season, reserve once or twice. If I'm not here in the commentary box, I may just give it a shot and have a go.
Whereas I've done the complete opposite. I do run ABS like yourself, and I don't tend to really want to drop it, but last week I decided to drop it for 1 race at least, just give it a go, and found myself reserving in this race last week in Austria. So yeah, good learning curve and good experience.
Oh, definitely. And I think Austria's a good one anyway to learn the no assist, because you are generally, the way you lock up is when you start putting any sort of steering angle into the car, and just predominantly the heavy braking zones are in a straight line. Unless you were Joni, who uses locking up to help turn a car, which I still
Yeah,
can't
I have
get my head around.
seen
He
that.
said it about
It's
a month ago, and I still
brilliant
can't get
how
my
he
head around
does
that.
it. Brilliant how he does it.
I mean, the guy's not even 20 yet,
No,
and he's now
it's
he doesn't drive. I always thought that when you have a driving license, it is going to help you a little bit. Oh, interesting, Micromash and Chris. Well, they
soft
missed the safety
tyres.
car, but they missed the safety car. They were going through the final corner, and they got caught by the safety car.
Yeah.
So it came out so badly for them, and the safety car came out so quickly. So yeah, they've sort of had to pit now at this point. They can take the mediums to the end, no problem, I would say, from that. But this is going to hurt massively. I'm checking, yeah, Michael Mash has gone on those tyres. What's Chris going to do? He's gone mediums as well. So, yeah, they'll be taking that to the end. They will come out at the back of the field. So watching those guys come through now as well, that's going to be good fun.
But the saving grace that those two have is they both come out the pits to join the back of the train is they haven't had to push to catch the back of the train too hard because they've only just come out the pits, so they still have as much fresh life in those tyres. But also, pretty much everybody in front of them has got to pit, so they haven't really lost too much with going for the medium tyres at this part of the race.
No, the big winners from that were Bobo in 7th and everybody down, actually. Everybody managed to pit. Soze wouldn't, he was on the hard tyres, unless he went for mediums, but he stayed out from Soze. Everyone else that in the top 6 were on the medium tyres anyway, so they can go quite long into this race. They could go another 10 laps, potentially, on those tyres, especially with the saving grace of the safety car now, and you know, then strap the set the softs on towards the end and go flying, go racing very, very quickly. So, yeah, it's going to throw everything amongst the mix now as well, and especially if we get any more, especially midway through. I think if we get one in about, let's call it 8 to 10 laps time, that's when it's going to get interesting. Will people pit or people going to stay out? But here we go. We're going to go racing.
Yeah, because track position isn't all that important here. It's one of them where you tend to get quite a lot of overtakes, but the DRS trains on this game just make it so tricky to overtake, because once you get stuck in it, you just sat there behind the car for multiple laps, as we're going to be following Saviour on this restart, as he patiently waits to see where he's going to go.
Oh, he's gone just before, a little burst of acceleration before the final couple of corners. That's an interesting one. Yeah. But it sort of worked. It has worked very well for him.
Yeah, he's got about 6 tenths on Armagh off the start, 7 tenths. So, lovely restart for Saviour. Oh, I think that's...
Who was that in the back? That was Mahmoudev. On the hard
10
tyres.
seconds for exceeding track limits as well, so...
No, he was off track and letting people go through. I think that's not right. So, I mean,
no.
If we see that in the stewards, hopefully just keep going to the end, and I'm sure we'll see that come off, because that was, really not right. I don't think that one.
Yeah.
The one pit, it'll come off.
Yeah, the drivers behind Soze, though, because obviously Soze being on the hard tyres, are losing time to those ahead of Soze, because they've got a much grippier tyre, so they can get going, because Soze finds himself already 1.1 seconds behind Doris just on this restart alone. But
yeah, exactly.
hopefully...
And those hards are going to be hard for Bobo behind him on the fresher tyres as well. Not just quicker tyres, as you said, but fresher as well, so he was the first to pit.
Yeah, because he really closes in on the back of the Ferrari through Maggots and Beckett's, and he's got in the tow, and I think he's gone past him. He faced through him on my screen, the Alpine through the Ferrari. It was weird to watch that. As we've got the Smith, Jules and red car for 7th, 8th and 9th, nose to tail through club. It goes a bit tight between the three of them. but we'll jump to the front as Saviour's already broken out the second from Armagh, who's only 4/10 ahead of Lorpy, who's got Doris and Bobo not too far behind. Obviously Bobo's got past the hard shot Ferrari of Soze.
Oh,
who's
Ryan,
just...
great move on to Jules. Sorry, it's back in 8th and 9th. Fantastic move from Ryan. And he's really looking to push on. He's got Smith now ahead of him. He's on a lot fresher rubber. So you want to make that move before that gap to Kaiser gets even larger. So I expect to see that change momentarily, I would say. But it's interesting, Michael Mash and Bailey, they're up to 13th, 14th already respectively, and behind Mr. Anton himself, the multinational man.
Yeah, and he's definitely not one to easily overtake. Respectful, but hard but fair, and when it comes
Absolutely,
to racing...
Yeah. He is.
He'll give you the space, but he'll give you the exact amount of space. He won't give you any more, any less. He'll give you the exact amount of space allowed.
Wow,
As
Smith
I think
down the DRS zone. Ryan and Jules both straight through on Smith, and now chasing down Kaiser Soze. So this is going to be an interesting one now. See what Ryan can do. Like I say, he's on the mediums. They will go to the end. They won't feel great towards the last couple of laps, but they'll go to the end happily. Jules will just start getting those hard tyres working now, especially if he... I mean, I only did one lap on them and I had wing damage, but so I didn't exactly know what they felt like. But yeah, the mediums will go. He'll be okay with them, I'm sure. But it's going to be interesting to see what he can do now, especially with the people behind in that DRS from him. And he's going to need to save as much of his battery as he possibly can, whilst just using the superior grip that he's going to have. I mean, the hard tyres will feel okay for Soze, of course, but just won't have that outright grip as Bobo's already caught to the back of Doris and that party at the front.
Yeah, just watching Red Car as you're talking, as he slowly closes up on the Ferrari of Soze. As
going
slow
into
as
Luffield and Buckland at the end of the first sector, he was a second behind. He's only half a second, and he hasn't used his ERS battery, which I can say. So
that's just a difference in tyre life and grip.
Yeah, absolutely. He is using it now, though. Is he going to have a look? Respectful from Steve, as always.
Yeah, doesn't put up much of a fight. He knows to play the waiting game, but all he has to do now is try and stay in the 1 second detection gap of Red Car, which the pace that Red Car's showing at the moment may not be straightforward for Soze, but knowing Soze, he's not... Oh, his aero voice has gone.
It's in the pits, that one.
Yes. So, second retirement.
Oh, they're still going good, which is good to see. I know he's off the back of the pack, but he has pit. He can still continue going to the end, so fingers crossed for him that we keep on going, so it'll be good.
Beautiful helicopter shot through Luffield of the chasing pack behind Saviour of Armagh, Lorpy and Bobo through Luffield. Lovely helicopter shots.
Yeah, it does. It does look very, very good, doesn't it? Doris has fallen off the back of this pack, which is going to make him susceptible to Ryan in a lap or so's time. But Jules has got through on Soze, who's not going to give up the outright pace that he's got. I mean, I would say at this moment in time, you're looking at Bobo in very strong position, potentially, for a victory the way it's going, but he's now back on to his teammate, and wow, the speed difference. As he's going down the inside into the final couple of corners, can he get the car stopped? He does, there is room.
Ooh.
But gets
got
the
a
move.
bit tight
Good
through
move.
there.
It did, but good move, very, very good move. He's not hanging around.
No.
This man is, he just hid from Tier 1 for a season, didn't he? And, well, he's been caught.
Yeah, you finally caught him out and exposed him for the speed that he has.
That means I've got to race him next season, which I'm not looking forward to. I don't like it when we do this. Oh, this guy's really quick this season. He can go Tier 1.
What I've seen of him from the comms box and on the track itself, he's a very good driver to watch, and I think he's going to be a real good surprise for Tier 1 next season. Is Bobo a very good surprise?
Absolutely. Yeah, the times he's reserved in that tier this season, he's pushed, and he's already there with Loppy, assuming at the back of Saviour. Of course, these guys on the used tyres, on a lot more worn tyres. But I mean, to be fair, what's scary is Bobo had 100% battery.
Really?
He doesn't now, but
at that point he did.
He had 100% battery. He's really going to hold it to these top guys.
I mean, just going back.
Who was it that had a spin?
Oh, it's Doris.
It was Doris. I think he's just cooked the tyres. Yep, he's pitting. He is pitting now. I wondered if he was struggling. I saw Williams. I wondered if it was Jules and the hard tyres, but no.
I seen Doris tumbling down the order, and as you say, he's probably cooked his tyres because he's instantly dove into the pit lane to put a fresh set of boots on and go to the end at this point. But just on talking about Bobo briefly, to put into perspective why I think he's going to be a surprise for Tier 1 next season is going back a few rounds to Spain. Him and Chris had an absolute titanic scrap, the pair of them in X-treme in Spain. And Bobo beat him on outright race. So if he can beat Chris, then I think he's going to be quite a surprise. So definitely one to watch for next season in Tier 1 will be Bobo.
Yeah, he will. And to be fair, speaking of the blowhole himself, he's following Micromash through the pack. He's dropped off a little bit. He just got through on Vixen. But yeah, they're now up to 9th and 10th respectively. And I was just on board through Luffield and Brooklands. I can never remember which one's which. But Bergen on his fresher tyres went round the outside of Soze. Great move. Oh, the leaders are starting to pit. Saviour's in, Armour Red's in.
Be interesting to see. They'll come out behind Ant.
I think, yeah, be behind Ant. But
they'll be
tyres.
they'll be in clean air though, and no threat from behind because Doris is just coming through Stowe on the minimap, so they've got plenty of a big enough gap to the two cars behind, so they're in nice clean air on those soft tyres to get them working. As I think Micromash has just made a move for P6 on Soze whilst we were talking about that, so Micromash up to P6 now. Looking to attack Bergen just up the road. Oh, Jules getting a bit out of shape, out of Cops, getting 3 seconds for that, so that's going to hurt him towards the latter stages.
Interesting that, because he stuck to the back of Ryan for quite a long time now. So that's a really interesting one for the outside. So come on, folks. I know there's 8 of you, but come on, hit the like button if you haven't. Don't forget to get involved. We'd love to have you in the YouTube chat, so please do. It helps us move up the order as well. So if you're watching, who do you fancy for the win? Do you fancy a tipping Bobo? You're thinking Ryan could close that gap? What about Jules on the hard compound tyres? That's going to be an interesting one. Bergen's there as well. Micromash and Chris Bailey coming back through the field. It's quite open, to be fair.
Yeah, it's really open at this with 10, 11 laps to go. It's anyone's guess still at this point, because like you say, you got Bobo, who's 3 seconds up the road from Ryan, who's, as you say, has been showing some great pace on those mediums. Jules on the hards has been on them since I can't remember what lap now.
Yeah, same time. Jules pitted at the same time, but he went for the hards while everyone else went for the mediums. So it's going to be an interesting one as well. See what they can do towards the end of the race as well. So, you know, the mediums, they were taking them. Well, I mean, they were all sort of forced to pit early, weren't they, off the softs to get onto those medium tyres.
Oh, Micromash got a bit wide. Yeah, just out of Cops. He's going to have to keep an eye on that, because with everyone being so close from Jules down to himself, you don't want to be picking up any track warning penalties, as I think Jules is making the move on red car into Stowe, makes it stick with the aid of DRS, and looks like Micro having a look at Bergen around the outside.
Yeah, interesting move, a little bit of wheel banging on the entrance, but that's an interesting one. I'd never seen that one happen before.
Big balls shown by Micro Mash there, making an audacious move around the outside at not a particular overtaking point, but spectacular. It's alright, as I think Bergen's having a look on the inside of the loop just a moment ago.
I think he's just trying to maybe do the switchback. I mean, it's one of the things people do try to do. I tried it a few times, didn't make it work. What happened to Jules? Have I just missed that completely?
Good question, because he now finds himself behind Chris. That's super tight between Micromash and Bergen going through Brooklands into Luffield.
I'm just going to have a quick look, because I'm not sure. I'm going back to the stream, I'm not going to lie, because he was there, just got past Ryan. I'm just going to have a look and see what happened, because that was surprising. I wonder if it was just on the exit. Easy to drop it, though, easy to lose the rear through that club corner.
He's really dropped off from Chris, though. He's 2.3 seconds behind now, as Micromash has moved up to second now, ahead of Red Car, and I think Bergen's going to try and follow suit as well. Yep, the Ferrari moves up into third. The Mercedes has just dropped 2 places, but ideally for Chris, just behind.
It was out the first corner, which we saw Palang do in qualifying. Okay. And that's where it happened, and he caught the wall. He's in the pits, he's had to pit. He had missing half a wing.
Yeah, Soze's just pitting off the hards as well. But luckily for Chris,
should have pitted.
Yeah, luckily for Chris, though, he may be 2.4 seconds behind Micro, Bergen, and as Bergen's gone for a move on Micro, and both of them making fair. Yep, makes the move, and he gets DRS as well, so he got the move done after the detection point, and now Red Car trying to have a look as well on Micro. It's anyone's between these three, but with these three scrapping as hard as they are, it's allowing Bobo to just have a little breather. He's 4.5 seconds up the road, but he can just pace himself. He knows those three are battling behind, and Chris is not too far from him as well, so he's going to come into play as well. But all of this is playing into Bobo's hands, where he can just pace himself and just manage to gap from the cars behind. As Bergen's lost the rear end through Brooklands.
Oh, he's in the wall. Has he got damage? I think he does. Oh, that's so unlucky. I'm trying to see. Wait till he comes back on track for the camera angle I have. Well, I was just looking further back through the field at the pit stops, and both Kaiser Soze and Jules have gone for the soft tyres. So, yeah, Bergen's missing an end plate completely from that Ferrari, so he's probably going to have to pit.
Unfortunate for him, because he was having such a good scrap with Micro and Red Car. He was at least in contention of a possible win if anything came about, but it's all come undone for him as the back end came out of Beckett's into Chapel, which we saw happen to Ant on lap 1, but unlike Ant, Bergen couldn't keep it out the barrier, lost the end plate, and has had to make an extra pit stop.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the penalties as well. Friddy's got 3 seconds, a good shout for Friddy. He's up 8 from his initial spot, so having a good race so far. He's on the hard compound tyres, so should be able to go at the end. Obviously the drivers behind him on the faster tyres. What happened to Ant? Did he have a moment? May have done. Yeah, he's missing a front end plate, Ant, as well. Oh my goodness me. So it's all going to happen now, I think, in these last 7 laps. But there's 3 seconds for Jules further back, 6 for Doris, 9 for Rotterdam. And Mamo Dev told him to keep on going. I know he's got that 10 seconds for that really, really strange one. But he's at the back of this pack now with Scottish Ninja leading it. So there's still something to play for, I would say.
Yeah. Still glued to the battle for second and third with Micromash and Red Car, as Bobo's just pacing himself out from 5.3 seconds up the road from these two, and Chris slowly reeling him in, but sadly being out of DRS.
As you mentioned, exactly that. But as these two start to battle a little bit more, that's when it's going to come to Chris, I think, towards... I mean, there's only really one lap difference. Bobo and Ryan managed to pit when the safety car came out, and of course we saw Michael Mash and Chris had to pit that lap later, from right behind the safety car as well. They were really stuck.
Yeah.
But to come from the back of the pack through to where they are is testament to how tight the field was bunched. Jules hits the fastest lap on the fresh soft tyres. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one now. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if Jules can catch up to Soze. There's 9.7 second gap plus the 3 seconds.
Oh, Vixen's gone. I think that's in the pit lane. Yeah.
Which we don't have to see, not know why. But
no.
Medvedev's got past Rotterdam. He's a couple of seconds behind Doris. So he should be able to keep going, especially on those mediums. Should be okay for that. But yeah, there's a few gaps forming, a few people sort of driving around on their own, which you and I both know that feeling.
Oh yeah.
Saviour's keeping about 3 seconds ahead of Friddy, who's got armour on the soft, sort of closing in, pulled that gap from Bergen, who's still got that damage. Decided the car feels okay, so he's keeping out for now. And as well, same side of the wing damage, so that's going to be interesting. One offset of tyres, and it's going to be interesting to see who can manage the best. With that, as I've said, that Bergen now pits.
Ooh, that's a bit tight between. I know the lap cars get ghosted, but that was a bit tight coming through Village for Micro and Red Car with the lapped car that they've just gone through. Yeah, Vixen's retiring. Yeah. I think it would be Vixen's Aston coming out of the pits after retiring.
Yeah, it was.
Would have been off-putting for the both of them, but they made it through with no issues at all.
What's interesting to see is Chris isn't really making the headway at this moment to Micro and to Red Car. The gap's sort of stagnant at the moment. And Ryan can sort of keep there as much as he can. He'll only have about 2 to 3% different wear, not even that maybe, with a 1 lap difference on the tyres. But yeah, just can kind of sit there really in the DRS, as long as he stays there. Only use what battery he needs to.
The gap to Bobo's been coming down by a little bit out front, but not a lot. I think that's just Bobo probably just pacing himself out front, making sure he doesn't take too much out of the tyres while he's got no one battling him around. So he's probably just pacing himself and making sure he doesn't make any mistakes and puts himself on the front foot for the race win.
Well, that's it, yeah. It was over 5 seconds not long ago, now down to 4. Is it Michael Mash pushing on with Ryan in tow? Don't know.
Could be, but it could be either way. It could be Bobo pacing or...
I think you're right. It could be because we know Bobo's got that pace which he showed early on. Chris just dropped down to 2 seconds behind. I don't think Saviour's going to be close enough to threaten him. But just shows the inherent pace that some of these guys have got. I think Michael Mash went a little bit wide there.
It did look a little bit as we're following the Mercedes.
Oh yeah, it's. I'm interested to see what's happening with the front few.
Yeah, Red Car keeping a safe distance from the Sauber, so he's not affected too much by the dirty air, so he can keep control of the car and also not damage the tyres too much, because even following too close to the car in front can take a bit more out of the tyres due to the dirty air that comes off them. So he's keeping a safe distance.
Yeah, I've kind of just had a quick look at the warnings from Race Director, and Yeah, I can see tender hooks. I can see things getting a bit.
I'm
tense.
guessing there's a few people that are squeaky bum with track limits and probably trying to keep it.
I only really focused on a couple that were in battles. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to this race, this one. And I'm not going to say any more than that.
Nah, I don't want to give too many spoilers. We just want to let the drivers put the show on for us. We just are the mouthpiece. They are the real stars of the show. We just put the sound to everything else.
We do. We just make it up and talk rubbish.
It's pretty much what we do.
We've honed that craft over many seasons.
Yeah. Micromash really pushing on because he's almost got that second to red car now.
Yeah, I wonder if Ryan's just struggling with his tyres that little bit more, and maybe even his battery life that he's struggling with, and it could all play into it. I'm not sure. I'm not going to give the game away as well, but again, Chris, this gap has come. It went to 2. It's just down a couple of tenths, but just hovering, these gaps between them all, just sort of hovering at this moment in time. But we'll go back. Friddy's in the battle with Armour Red, who's just got through on Friddy. But Friddy's been on 17 laps on those hard tyres, and he's got 3 second penalty, so he's just going to see what he does with Soze and Floppy Loppy further the back. Scottish Ninja 3 second time penalty, so let's have a look at those penalties. There's 3 seconds for Friddy, Jules, Smith and Scottish Ninja. 6 for Doris, 12 for Rotterdam, and Mamo Dev on his recovery drive up into 14th. He's got that 10 second for that very strange off-track excursion. So there's a couple of penalties further down, there's a couple of warnings further up to multiple drivers, so yeah, that's what I mean, anything can change now. Just as you mentioned, if the tyres start fading, you get that understeer forces you wide, you get that rear twitching which you have to correct, forces you wide, and over the white line, anything can happen now in the last 2 more laps after this one, and I think we're going to have an exciting end to this race.
Yeah, and as we know, the game feels a bit more stricter when it comes to the penalties on this one compared to the last rendition of the game, so we're having to be a lot more cautious with the track limits because, as we all know, the white lines define the track limits, and if you go over those limits you will get penalised for them.
Yeah, and I quite like it when eventually, I can't remember what season it was, we went to the stricter track limits. I quite liked it, to be honest. You do anything on standard track limits and you can pretty much straight line half the corners. It's just ridiculous what you can get away with. The white line doesn't exist.
No, you do get that sometimes. And yeah, I do agree with you. Going to the stricter limits, it also tones people down a bit because the one thing I have noticed from when we used to race with standard and then we went strict is because you had a bit more leniency with track limits, people were being a lot more aggressive than what they are now with the stricter limits.
Yeah, whether it's pushing people off the track or sort of sending a dive bomb and half almost cutting a chicane, you could say, for that. No, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, there are a few corners that you think, oh, I've missed a mess with that one, I've taken too much inside curb, and it doesn't. It's strange, but then by the time you realise what you've done and try to take that line, it's too late now. You don't even know what you did because it was so accidental. This is going to be an interesting battle now. Final lap, 2.3 seconds the gap. That has really come down
Chris
a lot.
has dropped off from Micro and Red Car as well. He finds himself 2.4 seconds back. But as you say, the gap has come down ever so slightly per lap, and I do think it's, as we said earlier, Micro pushing on and Bobo just gradually just pacing himself, making sure he gets to the end.
Yeah, maybe
He's
just
only...
not push, as you said, but that are just not losing too much per lap. It's an interesting one about people's ERS batteries, and I tell you what, last lap, We've got Ryan. Oh my goodness me!
I just seen the delta drop to 0.050. That must have been tight through cops.
Oh, that was a Lewis moment.
Was it? Wow.
That was nearly a Lewis moment. Wow, how
I feel bad for not catching that on stream. I do apologise to everybody.
I just saw the gaps. I was looking through the ERS levels myself, and I just saw it, and I was just like, no, he's not going there. And he tried to have a go. I thought he might have waited, but jeez, that was close.
Bobo coming through the club complex of corners, and will take the win on track here at Silverstone for X-treme. Micromash will come second, Red Car third. Chris will come home fourth, and the next car to cross the line in P5 will be Saviour. These results are provisional. Just getting that out there very quickly as we wait for Armar to cross the line, who I would say has clinched the X-treme title with this one, because we had no Joni tonight, so I would pretty much say Armar is your very first MRC X-treme champion, first year running it and being crowned champion at the first way round. So big congrats to Armar on that one. As we wait for the next gaggle of cars to come across the line. Bergen coming home in 12th. Unfortunately lost the car out of Brooklands into Chapel. Got damage. And that's
well
a pit for repairs.
To finish, I've got to say, I think he'll get if he gets the 10 seconds off, hopefully he will for that. So that's a good one for him. Good recovery drive. Unlucky for Scottish Ninja, I think, as well. He was up there fighting.
Yeah, it just shows as well, don't give up. Just do not give up. Just keep going.
Exactly, and I think Scottish Ninja Grant did that in Tier 3 as well. He had an early knock and battled back and got fourth in the end, and he messaged me afterwards, so he did really, really well. But yeah, that was it was a sort of slow burner, really.
Yeah.
But it was I enjoyed that race. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of good overtakes, a lot of good thinking going on from the drivers. But no, that was really good.
Very good racecraft from everyone, especially methodically and on that side of things.
Yeah, it really, really was.
But I still feel bad for not picking up that moment with Micro and Red Car into cops. Sorry to everyone missing that one.
But there we are.
Yeah, Bobo takes the, I'd say, penultimate win of X-treme, because obviously we have the rerun of Imola to come next week. But the championship, I would say, is pretty much signed, sealed and delivered in Armar's corner, and hopefully we'll get the race results come up so we can run through them. I don't think we are, because I just see a black screen.
Oh, that's not ideal.
No, so we cannot run through the finishing order, sadly. But as you say, it soon got going towards the end. Yeah, not going to see the final race results, just had a black screen, so unfortunately I can't run through them. But the top three was Bobo, Micro and Red Car. All three of you take a bow. Phenomenal race from all three of you. Micro and Chris especially, from the back after the safety car restart and just slowly making yourselves way through the pack. It's just been great racing up and down from everybody, and I can't really pick a standout from everyone.
No, I'm looking at that. Yeah.
I mean the game gave it to Red Car, but there's not a clear standout, because they all did phenomenal well. I mean, Bobo pacing it towards the end to make sure he got the win. Micro and Chris coming through the pack after the pitting behind the safety car and ended up at the back of the pack. So there's not a clear standout. I can't pick someone.
I would have to be honest, I'm the same. I think I'd have to give. I've never done this before in all the years I've commentated. I'd have to go a 25% split. I've done a 50% split before, but
I've done a
top four,
50% split, but I've never done a 25% split
No,
myself.
I'd have to say
I
any of
think
the
this
top
is going to
four,
be a
because
first.
you're right.
Yeah, this is going to be a first. Yeah.
It would have to be me that does that, but I would have to say it has to be, and I think it has to be a 25% for the top four, because the way that they were battling, the way that they went through the pack for Chris and Michael, as you say, and then the battles, Ryan, great race. Him and Bobo gained a lot of positions as well in that race. Ryan, his battling with Michael Mash and people around with Jules as well in that moment, absolutely incredible. So yeah, I think I'd have to go a four-way split, I think, between them.
So yeah, and an MRC first, a four-way split for driver of the day.
Exactly.
But yeah, as I said earlier, this may be the final round of X-treme, but we do have a rerun still to come next Wednesday for X-treme. The championship is sealed. Armar, congratulations. But you X-treme boys do have to go again next week at
There's a lot of
Imola.
places up for grabs, so the points are going to be quite close in that championship, so there's a lot of bragging rights still to play for.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a good race. Imola's always a good fun track, isn't it? So
yeah,
that'll be great to watch.
Yeah, it's not a bad one to end on. I mean, Silverstone's not a bad race to end on either, but neither's Imola. But that is it for X-treme at Silverstone, and Silverstone in general for MRC. X-treme back next week in Imola to finish things off. The new season doesn't get underway till, what did you say, second week of October?
Yeah, about the 10th, I think it is.
Yeah.
But before then, we will have an off-season race for you all, I'm sure. Something a bit wild, something a bit wacky, maybe a bit long distance. We shall see. And then, of course, the ever-entertaining, the ever-fun, and the ever-anticipated team draw, hosted by yours truly. I shall be here hosting that one with my beautiful assistants. If you're looking through a kaleidoscope. It'll be, I think it's going to be the Bottle Job, Connor, and the Lion King, Mr. Dennison, because the boss man, Mr. Hilius of the Hills, is away, I believe. So, we'll get that, but that will be out, and I'm sure the announcement will be in Discord within probably the upcoming week or so.
Yeah, if you're ever watching this race back, like and subscribe on the video, or if you've been in the stream as well. Hopefully you've liked and subscribed as well. So just very quickly, Mark, it was great to be back on comms with you again, because it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It has, mate. It has. It's been really good fun. Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for watching as well, and all the drivers. And thank you, my friend. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. So MRC will be back next Wednesday for Imola X-treme. That's all from me and Mark. Good night.
Good night.